structured differently, but when the banking industry needs to, it will start to liquefy. Obviously, underwriting criteria is going to be different, but it's in 6 months, second half of 2009, there's going to be acquisition finance. It's just going to be priced differently. Values aren't going to be there in the short run. If you bought something in 2007 and you went short and you want to sell it, you're going to lose money. And your debt's going to lose money and everybody's going to get hurt, but it's going to move on. This is not rocket science. I mean, we get so consumed by it, it just cracks me up. Because the media just sits there and talks about it like it's subprime, and it's not. Nothing remotely close.
I just want to announce that Governor Corzine is leaving to take over the directorship of the Daytona 500, and that John Saraceno will be the next governor of New Jersey.
Kills me.
What's the price that the government has given the
Well, the Fed has pumped $4 trillion into the economy. Whatever they want it to be.
5% going up.
Right.
5%?
5% is the cost and it goes up in time.
Can't be paid back for 3 years.
If I can just
Not as
add,
good a deal as Warren did.
You can't. You're finished.
you know, this is interesting to me because my expertise has always been more or less in the $1 to $20 million range. I mean, I have a closing, God willing, today at 2 o'clock. A vacant apartment building that was condemned by the city because of carbon monoxide emissions. We're selling the corporation to a contractor who's going to renovate the building just in time for the loan to possibly be called. So I have another one closing next week where the guy is going to basically write a check for $800,000 and put his office in there while he manages 3,000 apartments. So as far as, and Jeff, you touched upon this, interesting trends, or what accommodations are being made. The owners that have over-leveraged, and I mean, they're gonna get a hit if they can't ride the next 5 or 10 years. That's a given. But are there, you mentioned owner-seller financing, are there any interesting trends or twists that you see that are making deals happen today? I'm selling deals, they're not $1 billion deals, but somebody, the tail end of a 1031 is putting 50% cash in to bread and butter apartment buildings. In the areas that I focus on, rent-stabilized markets. Rent stabilization, a very large landlord told me once that's a curse and a blessing. It's a curse that I can't get the rent from $600 to $2,000 with one vacancy, but I have guaranteed increases every year, 1 or 2 year increases. So I think you have to look at it perspective, and I agree that there is a lot of doom and gloom in the public, in the media. But there are deals getting done, and sometimes it takes a little creativity and hard work, basically.
Let me give you an example. I think the last few years, it was an easy sell to sell an owner because the pricing he was getting was so attractive. You didn't have to convince them. Today, I think much more of the discussion, once you have real buyers, is with the owner. And I'll give you an example. We traded at Office Park in New Jersey. It was 6 buildings, about a little over 1 million square feet in October. And it's owned by J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan is typically a seller that says, go out, get me a great price, I own great real estate, and we'll sell. Not many people, this was we thought it would be about a $400 million deal. Not many people around saying, I want to invest $400 million in New Jersey. New Jersey's gotten pretty negative press in terms of employment growth and so forth. But this, great tenants, great credit, I think the best office project in suburban New York, all suburban New York. But to do the deal, we had to break it into 2 pieces to finance it with 2 different lenders, 50% LTV, interest only for 5 years. Couldn't get that debt out today, but broke it into 2 pieces, meaning I had 2 separate closings, not exactly what a seller wants, because things can happen. Those closings were over, they were a month apart. Why were they a month apart? We sold it to a private REIT who raises money every day. They needed time to raise the additional money. Because that still wasn't enough time, convinced J.P. Morgan to do a second mortgage. To do a second mortgage for 9 months. Not for 5 years, but 9 months. Why 9 months? They raised $3 to $4 million a day. that gave them the comfort they could raise sufficient money to do this. It ended up being about $365 million. That was a $47 million second mortgage. So what's the answer? The answer is, I think sellers have to be open-minded. I think they have to be creative. I think brokers have to be creative, because you won't get deals done unless you are. There are still some simple deals, but most of them, unfortunately, aren't going to be simple going ahead. So I enjoy this time, not in the sense of, it can be depressing hanging out at ULI and listening to everyone tell you how bad it is and how bad it's going to be, but it's a time for creativity. It's a time for new ways to do things. I think the concepts aren't any different. They've been done for years. It's just reinventing them a little bit. So, and I think the deals that the guys at this table are getting done probably have a different twist of creativity in most cases. But maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think we need a little optimism, don't we?
Some of the things that we're doing or clients are doing are obviously mezzanine. That made some big deals happen in New York this year by the bank or the seller issuing some mezzanine to make it work. We're seeing master leasebacks or leasebacks of some vacant space for a short period of time to get the new buyer through. We're also seeing some plays with maybe a ground lease that a guy can convert back when the right time is and buy the fee. We're seeing earnouts where we say, look, you can't get to my price today, but pay me $90 million, and if so-and-so occurs over the next 12 months, I get a kicker. So we are seeing those things that are being done to kind of bridge the difference, and we urge our sellers today to be flexible and keep an open mind if they want to get transactions done.
I have a question. The question's to Jeff and Andy. And the fact is, what John said about